channel. So today, still working on the cruiser again, something a little bit different. As you sort of know, this is sort of going through a bit of a build phase at the moment, so no trip on this episode. I'll just quickly show you what we're doing. So we've got one of these trays from TC Boxes, and it's a full aluminium tray. We've mounted it. Got a few mates over on Friday, give us a bit of a hand with it, and a few little issues. They've sent us, well, I went up there and collected it, but they've given us the wrong mounts and no bolts supplied either. I queried them about it and they said no bolts come supplied with any of their trays. A little bit odd. It's like buying 2 pairs of socks and then you only get one. Anyway, so queried them about it. They said it doesn't come with it. I was after some guidance as to how they mount the mounts then, because they didn't really provide anything. And they've given me a few photos, which I'll put them up on the screen now. And I didn't really like how they've done the front mounts on this. Because you can imagine, I'll grab a couple of pieces of metal so you can sort of see. So I'll flip the camera around. So imagine this being the chassis rail on top underneath the tray, and this here being a part of the foot. Because they call them feet for some reason. Yeah, I call them mounts. Anyway, and then essentially they've got the mounts sitting like that. Sorry, wrong way around. Other way around, like that, with bracing on the side. And imagine this obviously being a little bit longer, so you can bolt it down there and bolt it up here. Problem is, they've got an open face of this C channel sitting onto the chassis rail. And I know you could mount it, 10 mil off or 5 mil off or something like that. But over the course of like 2 years or so of driving, I would assume that would start rubbing and squeaking over time, creating a few little issues. It's just going to get more, it's probably just more noises more than anything. So I didn't really like that idea. So I reached out to TC Boxes Australia on Facebook, and they've given me a few instructions. Yeah, so they've given me a few instructions that TC Boxes in Perth, WA here couldn't actually provide. Sounds like I just mount it the way that you think's good. But TC Boxes over East actually do have an installation for it, which is better than what these guys have done. So over East, they've just bolted them straight to the side of the chassis rail using the correct feet. I'll show you the difference. So as you can see here, the C section is just welded the opposite way around. The difference meaning that when they're bolted to the face, one foot is further in than the other. So the guys over here, for the front foot on the 79s, have cut the standard foot down, flipped it inwards, so you get to the same position. But it's there, and then they've got their bracket from here to the chassis rail. Now, the bolt holes, I'll show you on the front. So there. There's nothing really wrong with that. And then on the rear, they're basically in the center. I haven't put the middle one in yet because I was waiting on the mounts. Because they sent me these mounts, but when I saw the instructions from how they install them over East, I prefer that. Because otherwise you're putting like 6 bolts in each foot, which is another story again. So obviously a job like this with mounts, you're going to use high tensile bolts. not stainless. And when I've got someone to pick up the correct bolts from them after I spoke to them over East, and they said yes, they are meant to come in bolts. They've supplied me with M12 by 40s, which is the correct size, but that is a stainless steel bolt. There is no way in hell am I using that to mount it. And the photo which I'll put up, I'm pretty sure it says 8.8 on their bolts. So they don't do it themselves. So I don't know why they sent me stainless steel bolts. It's just a waste of money, basically. So anyway, I've got the right mounts. I've got no bolts provided still. So I've been buying my own bolts as I need along the way. I've got all the bolts and all the fixing hardware for the tray sides. Someone that I was messaging on Facebook who used to work at TC Boxes says basically that the stainless steel fixings are all pretty much rubbish. Cheap stainless steel threads that you lock together as you screw them up. I think it's when the grade of the stainless is lower and they're on the same level of grade, like whether it's the nut and the bolt, and it causes them to lock. So while you're screwing your bolt up and it's still loose, they'll actually lock. The actual threads will lock together and just seize it as you're doing them up. You can lubricate them, but don't know. It's not my way of doing it. The bolts are probably rust over time anyway, because they're a low-grade steel and low-grade stainless. Anyway, that's not what I'm here for today. Over with that rant. What do I think of the actual tray? It's pretty good. It is a budget tray. When I say budget, it's still $8,000 with the tray sides, under tray toolboxes. I'll just put a photo up now. So yeah, so there's the under tray toolboxes there. So I've got one, there's another one underneath there. It also comes with a big trundle drawer. I opted for the 1800 tray, so it comes with the 1700 trundle drawer. So it is really long, as you can see. It's taller than me. No, I'm not very tall though. Anyway, all the seals and stuff all look good. Someone mentioned all trundle drawers, you know, all let dust in. It's the same sealing setup as what's on my canopy, and I've never had dust ingress in my canopy, so I can't see this being an issue. It's only the one opening. There's no other openings under the tray at all, like in terms of if they sealed it all. So it's all just a sealed box under the tray. So I can't see this being an issue. The other thing I have done, I have adjusted this compression lock so it does compress onto the seal correctly. I guess if you don't do that, that could let dust in. Not sure why they've got these, probably just to try and make it a little bit stronger. So I guess you've got quite a bit of weight in here in some cases, relying on that little compression lock. Yeah. The only flaw with trundle drawer that I really thought about, if you've got a trailer or something, this is pretty much useless. So it's just something else to consider. Is a trundle drawer really what you need? So obviously I'll probably only put in there critical spares, stuff that I don't really need to get to all the time. So therefore, if I do need to get to it, and if I do have a trailer on, I can just disconnect the trailer. Yeah, anyway, so this is an 1800mm long tray. The other option was a 1650, so basically it would be 150mm shorter, somewhere around about there. It does overhang past my toe ball, so it probably would have finished about here. Yeah, I don't know, much of a muchness. The canopy I've got is 1500, so I could have gotten away with the 1650, but yeah, don't know, each to their own. Probably would have liked the 1650, but yeah, who cares. As you can see here, so that's how I've mounted it. I've mounted them offset just because might make it a little bit stronger maybe. As you can see, I've used 10.9s. 10.9 high tensile M12 grade bolt, just for your own knowledge, is rated for a shear strength of 7 ton. So that is 14 ton strong right there. Yeah, anyway, so I'm still going to put in the other mounts in the middle of the chassis, so there'll be one there, and I've just got to cut it and drill it for the top, and I've got the other one up the front there. For the front, in front of the trundle drawer, still got a little bit of space. I was thinking about mounting my compressor up there. It's going to have to be upright, not enough room, or at least I don't think, for it to be like laying down. Yeah, it's anyway, so I'll see how I go with that. I'll have to come up with a bracket of some kind. The other thing I'm not a real fan of is the mud guards. So you might, no, I don't think you're about to see it, but you can sort of see the mud guard slightly further back than the center. That's because it fouls on this plastic guard on the cab. So someone on Facebook recommended that they normally cut the mud guards down to fit. I don't know if I go straight across, because then you still got mud and stuff coming out here, or if you cut it to shape. Yeah, I'll think about that still. Other than that, so that's obviously what I've done with the fuel filler. I've just mounted it down there. The hose that I've got is pretty tough, so the standard clamps that I was using wasn't really enough to clamp the hose. My local V-Belt and Rubber, they recommended this stuff because you can still flex it without it kinking. Now it's quite stiff, the hose is, so it's got steel through the hose. So I can understand what they were saying by that after I purchased it, but when I purchased it, I was like, couldn't quite understand. So like here, it's just standard hose, that is. Yeah, anyway, so you can put this stuff through tighter bends, but you'll struggle to get the tighter bends because it is really hard to bend. Yeah, I'll probably go back, get a longer piece and route it behind here. I only got a meter of it, thinking it was enough, but it's definitely not enough. Yeah, so I'll still got to mount these properly. It's just got a single bolt in it at the moment. And then, so the trundle, well, so the under-track toolbox will come up and in here. These lights, so they were all pretty straightforward. They came with an extension harness, which is that one there. There was no instructions or anything how to mount them. I've just done it the way that I thought was neatest. So because I haven't got the standard mounts, I've got the mounts with the hole on the bottom. I've come from the factory wiring down there, through the hole, up over that chassis rail, and then cable tied it on the front, and then up and through to the back light. Now the other thing I stuffed up a little bit was, someone was telling me to mount the lights before I run the trundle drawer. Now, when it came to putting the trundle drawer, I couldn't work out why. Because as you can see, all of that looks good. But I got no light for my number plate. So they actually mount the lights here. Now, when I was filling it just before, it is actually box section underneath. So to do that, I'm gonna try and drill and tap threads into this first, see how they go. It's only plastic, so it doesn't really need to be tight. So it's not like it's gonna rattle loose, because plastic will compress quite a bit compared to steel or alloy. So it should be alright. Otherwise, I'll have to drill them back out and run a nut cert on them. Yeah, other than that, that's where we're up to. Yeah, so I'll cut some mounts up, take you guys through that in terms of what I do. I've got a circular saw with the correct aluminium blade to do that with. I don't have a drop saw specifically for it. Yeah, I've got a drop saw, but it's got one of those metal blades, like a grinding disc blade. And I don't really want to melt the paint off the alloy. Anyway, so that's how I did those ones. I used the other blade, and then I clamped, because the measurements are accurate, I'd say, but just for peace of mind, I clamped a piece of steel onto the back and onto the front after I put the feet onto the chassis, and then we laid the tray onto the feet, so that, and that way it'd sit there, and then we could push all the feet in correctly, get everything square, get all the tray square with the cab, and then I could drill and mark those holes and bolted them down. And pretty much since then the tray hasn't come off. For the toolboxes, I will, don't know yet, a TC box is actually drill and tap threads into the flat bar under here. Like the mud guards were already done, but they do it prior to the tray going onto the car. Now my concern was I didn't know exactly where the mud guards were. I did have a measurement, but is the measurement the same in terms of, like, am I going to measure it to the same spot as to where they do? Yeah, so I'd rather just, some stuff I'll use their recommendations in terms of measurements, but then other stuff I'll just do what I think's right. Because I don't really want, I don't know, I'm just a bit finicky about stuff, like in terms of like these mounts. I didn't like them mounted the way that they were mounting them over here in WA. Yeah, anyway, we'll get into it. Alright, so here's some of my bolts here. I actually went to my local fastening shop and got steel nuts for some reason. I don't know why. Anyway, so I went and got stainless steel washers and everything, so I've just changed them all back out for the correct stuff. Put one of these penny washers, I think that's what the name is, just a big flat washer. They're stainless, they're 316, so they shouldn't rust at all. Yeah, so I've done that. I've pushed the mudguard forward a little bit. It's still slightly too far back, so I will cut them down today. And anyway, next task is I'm gonna do the mud flaps, because that's an easy, motivating job. It doesn't require much effort. Alright, so I got two mounts here ready. These are, the two for the middle two. Now, so this one here actually lines up with where that weld is a little bit, sort of offset, but it lines up a little bit more on the other side, so I can't make it go all the way to the top. And then obviously I've got to take out the rubber mount in the bottom as well, so I'll probably make that like 315, and that should get us there. Alright, so that's the blade I'm cutting it with. It's an aluminium, I believe it's an aluminium blade. I don't know. It's just a high-speed blade. Anyway, so we're doing that one there. Obviously, it's got small teeth, whereas I've got others that got quite a bit bigger teeth. I don't really want to cut it with that, because one of those other ones is a wood blade. And I got this square thing here, so I'll use that to help me cut a square edge along here, which will actually cut the actual square edge, or sorry, guide the actual square edge along here to cut the square edge. As you can see, I've marked the other one up as well. How shiny is this bench? Except for here. There's a little rough spot there once, and I put some rust remover stuff, and yeah, did that. I didn't really like that. Anyway, yeah, spray it all the time in WD-40. Makes it all nice and shiny. Righto, all done. Cut them down. I actually ended up making them 320. I double checked the measurement afterwards and just made sure I was holding the tape measure straight. And yeah, 320 is works a little bit better. Anyway, also got these stainless steel spacer washer things. Yeah, I'm not sure if they're gonna line up or not. We'll have to see how we go. Anyway, so I'll get in, I'll drill the holes for these. I'll just drill them out to, I think it was 12.5 from memory. And by the time I get my washers and stuff, I think it was 30 by 30 and 30 from that edge. Well, this one was 50, that one was 30, and they're both 30 mil in. Yeah. Alright, first one's drilled, so just gonna drill the second one now. Yeah, so obviously drilled it straight out to a 12.5 mil bit. Anyway, I'll get into the next one. Alright, so they're all done. Just to show you guys, I'm not doing with anything fancy like a drill press or anything like that. I've just drilled them straight with standard handheld drill. And I was drilling it straight out to 12.5 mil. And then I cleaned all the burrs off here with just the step bit. And just using the step bit basically as a file. I'm not actually drilling into it. It's just to clean it up, make it all nice and tidy. Yeah. Anyway, so we'll chuck these in the ute now. Right, first hole's drilled. So I'm going to chuck that one through there. And then I've got here a nylock nut and a stainless washer. Might have to put you down because I don't think I'm going to be able to get this. See how skilled I am. Nah, I can't get it. I'll have to put you down. Alright, that's in. So I'll just drill the other one out now. And then you can go from there. Alright, that side's all done. We'll get on to the next side. I probably won't bother recording any of that because it's exactly the same, just the opposite. Anyway, I'll get stuck straight into it. Alright, so the light, I've actually just been informed that I should have done this before I installed the Trundle drawer. I've got a few ways of doing this. I've just marked the center of the tray for the width. I've also got to clear the light coming down, so I can't just have that face being the bottom because obviously that would all hit the Trundle drawer as it slides in and out. So I've come up a little bit and it should be, you know, something like that. So it'll clear the Trundle drawer as it slides in and out. Yeah, so I've got a couple options. I can either drop the Trundle drawer, which is going to be way too hard because I got that lip with this bar, so that's basically not going to happen. I'm going to punch a hole all the way through, run a cable in, and then try and hook it out the side, and then use that. I'll probably ended up extending this cable here. This is for the number plate. I'll extend that, tape the two cables together, and then pull them together. Yeah, anyway, we'll get into it. Righto, so you can see here I've got a bit of cable. So I've drilled that out, and it feels like this, the other end of the box section took ages for it to drill through. Obviously this is sheet, and then you get the box section, and then you get the other end of the box section. Yeah, it just felt like the other end of the box section took ages for it to drill through. Anyway, managed to fish that one out over the side under here. It can't really go too far forward because there's box section just here running all the way across. Yeah, anyway, so got that out there. Now I'll come up with a plan with what I'm going to do. I need to try and chop some cable and extend it. Thinking probably from down here. Anyway, I'll get into it. So all I've done now is I've cut the cable. As you can see, I've offset it. And I'll show you the other end. So I've just taken a nick off this end and a nick off that end and then stretched the cable apart. And that's how I've managed to get the offset like that. So all I'm going to do now, I know what way this here has to go because it's got the 2 arrows like that. And then I'll join these two here together to another piece of cable, and I'll just solder it, I will. Anyway, I'll get everything ready. Right, so I got my heat shrink out. So I've got these 4 times glued stuff. This shrinks to 1/4 of its original size. So I'll put that over the whole lot. This is some standard heat shrink. And I've already put that on to there, strip that cable back, put it onto this one here as well and strip that one back. I'm going to put white to white and then green to brown. That's how I'm going to do it. And then, so just slid that long piece off. I just had to take those 2 short bits off. So we'll chuck this on here. There we go. So they're a pretty good connection there. With solder, basically you don't want to lather it on. You pretty much just want to paint it on. Get the cable hot first, and then just paint it on. I'll do my best to try and record it for you. As I was saying, get your cable hot first. Now, obviously, I've preheated this soldering iron, so you can get as hot as possible first before you touch it, if you're not heating up the whole cable and melting all your rubber. And then should be all right to go. And you pretty much just want to tap the solder onto the cable, just like that. I'll do the other one, then I'll show you. Don't want to make, as I was saying, you don't really want to put the solder onto the soldering iron. You can do it at the start to initially get the solder to melt into the cable to start off with, and then continue along the solder. But you don't want to make a big ball out of it, because you want the solder to go into the joint. Like that. So you can see there that solder has fully covered the copper, and that one there. So pretty much the solder just looks like a part of the cable rather than solder placed on top, because you want to try and get as hot as possible to draw the solder into the cable. Anyway, I'll put this heat shrink over. Oh, turns out I ran out of gas at the right moment that I needed it. There we go. Right, as you can see now, that heat shrink's nice and tight. The reason why I've settled them is when I slide this here along, I want it to be as nice and tight and as nice and small as possible. Done. There we go. So that's not really too bad at all. It's a little bit chunky, but I think it's just because of the thickness of the glue and stuff inside it. So as you can see here, you can just see the glue oozing out the end. Anyway, so we'll get into threading this back in. Alright, so I've taped all that up. I'll just go ahead and pull it through. Right, so that started feeding through. So now with this bit, I'll just push that in by hand because I don't really want to get any of that stuff caught. Oh, and the other thing I should probably do is probably just tape this up as well. There we go, so I just push the rest of that in by hand after I've taped up the connection. And then, so I'm going to mark and drill that now. And then here's the other end of the cable. So I shall join that onto there. And then, yeah, you guys probably don't need to see that bit. You saw me do the other end. So I'll just probably show you how I'm going to do this. We'll get into it. Alright, so I've joined them. I haven't soldered them yet, but before I solder, I'll just make sure they're all working. Still got the light up there. So it's quickly turn these lights on. And there we go. Done. So I've soldered that up together now. Alright, so I've drilled them out so far. I've tapped that one there. It's this one here. I'm just going to tap that out. Just going to clean that first and I'll get back. Righto, so just put some WD-40 on that, clean it up a bit, and it's going to start threading this in. So I'll just wind that sucker in there like that. There we go. So I'm going to have to go get some M5 bolts that'll fit through this silly little light. And then that'll be it for today, I think. Yeah, that'll be it for this week's episode, guys. Thanks for watching. Next week, the next episode, I'll be probably chopping down these mud guards. Got to cut them to fit, and hopefully fitting the under tray toolboxes. And then once that's done, it's pretty much moving on to the canopy. As you can see, I've even got the battery out of it as well, and the fridge. It's a bit of a mess, really. Anyway, that's for another video, and with that, we'll see you guys in the next episode. Ciao. Like and subscribe. Don't forget as well, if you're liking the content. If you want to see more stuff like this or more stuff to happen, I'm actually I'm gonna get my ARB compressor that I've got and mount it up under there as well. And hopefully we'll do that in the next episode. Alright, with that, we'll see you guys later.